Hear me talking, but it's not to you.
I'm at headphones on.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I can't hear. Oh no. Did I screw up?
I'm Rodd Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.
I can't hear myself. Hey, folks, I hope you can hear me because I'm going to say this. Why don't you go into the show and see if you can hear me? Good afternoon. I am, and welcome to Insights and Straight Talk. I'm Rodd Duff, your host, as always, here with producer Barbie. And just send me would you send me a text today? Send me a note in the comments. Today's conversation isn't about pressure. Speaking of pressure, not the kind that you post about, not the motivational type. But the real pressure, the kind where results matter, where numbers don't lie, and where your character gets tested long before your talent does. Because here's what I've learned. High performers don't struggle because they lack skill. They struggle because pressure reveals what was already unstable. And most people don't want to talk about that. They want the victory speech, right? They want the highlight reel. They want the 10 steps towards total domination, right? But what happens when you're exhausted, when you don't feel like performing, right? I mean, when success doesn't it doesn't fix the insecurity. That's where today's guest lives. Walter Rusniaczek is not a motivational speaker in the soft sense of the word. He's a former actor and comedian turned sales leader who spent over 30 years in high pressure, results driven environments where excesses don't move the needle. Excuses don't work there. He was raised in an unconventional environment, learning about betting spreads just before bedtime, and absorbing one core lesson early. Figures don't lie, but liars can figure. So, learn the math. That sentence alone could carry a full episode. Walter has coached over 1,000 people, not by teaching them something new, but by reminding them of something they already knew and forgot. And you know what? I love that. Because here on Insights and Straight Talk, we're not chasing hype. We're trying to rebuild the great middle class with clarity. And clarity under pressure, that's rare. So today we're going to talk about leading under pressure without losing yourself, selling with integrity when the stakes are so high, why success doesn't fix insecurity, and how humor can disarm ego long enough to tell the truth. This is not going to be a polite conversation. This is going to be honest, and some of you will agree, some of you won't. That's a good sign, though. So lean in, and welcome to Insights and Straight Talk. And as I was alluding to before, Walter is not here. I don't know what happened. To be honest with you, in full transparency, I was late, but when I got there, he wasn't. So I don't know what's going on. But fortunately, this is a This is definitely an episode that I'm very comfortable with. Your sound is good. All right. All right. So the comic Corvette. All right. So that's B. That's my producer, or my intern producer, let's call him. There's producer B, and then there's intern B. So yeah, it sounds like we have good sound. We have over 100 people here already. And I think I've got something wrong with my sound. So it may work out even better that our guest didn't show, because if our guest was here and my sound is actually not on, this is Walter. Oh, is that him? I don't see you here. This is Walter. Okay, so this is Walter. So Walter, did you come into the show? I sent you the link, Walter. It's on email I sent you a little bit ago. Oh, I'm glad you caught that. I wouldn't even notice it. Walter is on the link. Okay, so this is weird. How can you be on the link? The link would bring you into the show, Walter. So Walter's. Okay, that's okay. Walter. Check. Did you check an email I just sent you, Walter? Yes or no? Sorry, Todd. I'll get back with you in a second. But Walter is working on. He and I are on different links, it seems to me. Let me see if he answers my email. What is going on? They're sent. Inbox. Okay, Walter, my email went out to you. Okay, now you're not responding. Walter is on the link. Okay, there we go. Okay, great point, Comic Corvette. I bet you clicked, you're on the show. Okay, good dude, nice catch. So what you did is you clicked the YouTube link. You didn't click the StreamYard link. I'm Walter's admin. He's in StreamYard. Where'd he go now? You have to allow him into the room or something. Moopy, thanks for that. No, you're right. No, he comes into the room. I do allow him once he's in the room on stage, but I just sent him. I don't want to send them that link, otherwise everybody will jump on. It's the best way to stay calm when pressure suddenly spikes. Well, here, we're under it right now. We're actually living out the show's description right now. For instance, check out what look at what Danny Jr. says. What's the best way to stay calm when pressure suddenly spikes? Well, pressure is spiking here. Walter is logging out and logging back in. Okay, now hopefully he's going to log into the StreamYard link, not the YouTube link. There's two, one right above the other in your StreamYard video. I mean your StreamYard letter. Now, also about about 10 minutes ago. Here's one of the guys from my old work. I sent him a text telling him that. Okay, Moopy, you must work with Walter then. How do you keep integrity while chasing big sales targets? Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't keep your integrity, you'll lose sales targets moving down the road. That's something we'll definitely be getting into. I know this dude's pretty cool. He was one of my customers back in the day when I was building a machinery business. So where is our friend? Hey, Moopy, can you give me okay, here we go. We need a new link. Would you please send it again? The link we have says you're not there. Let me go right here to here. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to invite guests. I'm going to copy this. And then I can put it in your chat. I'm going to send you an email. How's this for handling pressure under pressure, huh? Sent items. Walter Rusniaczek. Did you need me? Oh, okay. Reply all. Hey, do me a favor. What's your email again? I'm going to type your email on here. I want you to click in and see if. Give me your email so it'll pop up.
BZ.
Okay. BZ. Have you given me that one before? BZECCA?
CCA
No.
003.
No, I don't have that one. This is the one you said you used for business. You just gave it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one.
I'll forward it. Never mind. Paste. All right. Now, take a look at that, Walter. Tell me what you get. Here's your link. Okay, so here. Okay, give me that again. B what?
BZECCA.
B. You're gonna have to speak louder. B BZE.
E.
What?
E.
Okay.
CCA.
Okay.
003 at Gmail.
Okay. Use that link and tell me if you get in. I'll see if you get in. You know what I'm doing. You've done this before.
Yeah.
Okay, we're looking. How do you personally handle failure after a big loss? We're getting some great questions here, Matt. No, not Matt. Hi, Rod. We need a new link. I just sent you a new link. Walter, I just sent you a new link. We're going to test that link right now. Did you get the email? I just want you to pop in and pop out. Okay, we've already been going 15 minutes. Hey, folks. This is, I mean, what's it doing?
I'm just trying to sign into my account. I thought let me paste my password.
We have 450 people here actually watching a complete shit show. Can't you click it? You just did this.
I'm trying to sign into my account. And my stupid password's not pasting into the...
Here, I'll click on my own
No,
email.
it's not the link. It's my own email.
Okay, so here's that.
Joiner.
Okay. And test. Settings, audio, test. Ah, you know what? Headphones, test, blink. All right, so I am on. Now I'm going to remove add to stage. This should be, oh, so this one I don't have the sound on. All right, anybody, are you guys coming? Oh, somebody just popped on. Is that you? Okay. Now I need to come over here. Add me to state. Okay, now this should test. Okay, so that doesn't have me working yet. Let's go to my settings. Go to my audio. Go to my headphones. Let me go to my test. And all right, so that link works because you got there. I got there. Wow, we get some crazy. Okay, your sound is good. I'm here, Rod. Walter, are you still here, Walter? I feel like this is the 50s, a radio station. How do you personally handle failure? Okay, I'm going to go through some of these questions and somebody's back on. Oh, it looks like he has made it.
Hey, look at that pressure.
We were living part of the segment as we were trying to fold this all together. We're actually living.
I was giving an oral report in some other port of the informational highway that's sitting there somewhere that no one will ever watch. So that was pretty exciting too. So at least we were both working as if everything was natural and the way it was supposed to be. Hi, my name is Walter. Hi, Rod.
Hi. You know what? We didn't get to go through everything back in the green room or any of that, so we'll skip all that. But one thing we normally do, we usually go as far as the journey. What was the inflection point that put you on the journey that you're on now that brought you to here? That I would love to hear. We've got 450 people on. We've got a bunch of questions starting to pop in. A lot of them were about us trying to connect here, and you and I connecting back and forth. But why don't you start with that journey before the journey, my friend? And how are you today?
I'm excellent. And how are you, sir?
Good. I'm doing very well, thank you.
I would say probably started at birth. I remember a lot of my birth. I remember the day I became a big brother. I mean, the day that my father came in as I was going to the bathroom and he said, "Congratulations, we hit a jackpot." And I said, "You mean I got a brother?" He goes, "No, you have a sister." I said, "No, son, Dad, that's called a blackjack, not and it doesn't really matter. I'm getting excited about myself. But I knew my life was going to be different with the time that my dad, when we were driving home and the cat ran in front of our car and the door knocked and the guy said, "You killed our cat." My dad said, "No, your cat committed suicide." And at that point there, I realized how to diffuse conflict.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a different point of angle, right? You lived as we like to say, where the lens was from a different point of view. You were brought up.
Oh, absolutely. But that's just some of the stuff. So I heard some of the things you were talking about, like pressure points, and I saw some of the questions, like how do you deal with pressure? What does integrity mean? And where do we get confused? And I think a lot of it has to do with how do we think? And I know on this interwebs and Instagram world that we live in, we're looking for hacks in life. And I don't think you can live life in a hack, because I think that's when your life becomes a hack.
I like that.
And sometimes, you have to figure out what the truth is. And sometimes I don't even know what the truth is. And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way or how I try to manipulate myself to think that everything's going to be great today. But sometimes there's just so many different factors of people's inputs, input of product, input of the society at large, what you can and cannot supposedly say. And all those because I know that's a neat thing, people microaggression, is that we get excited in such ways that we don't always stay focused. And so that's what I'd like to talk about today is how do I keep my focus when where I felt the world didn't want to hear me anymore. So I guess in a darker sense, and I know this is supposed to be positive all the time, but we also said sometimes we talk about things that aren't positive. So about 1.5 years ago, I hit a dark spot. Now, some people like to say that's depression. I wanted to exit. I was done playing on planet Earth. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But in a simple form of what happened to me is I was laying on the kitchen floor. And I don't want to call it an out-of-body experience, but I basically said these words to myself. Am I allowed to curse and be human? Or
Yep. As long as you don't fucking do it too much.
Fair enough. Who the fuck's running this show? I said, this guy.
Right.
Well, fire that motherfucker because I'm back. And so I got up on the phone and I picked up the phone and I called the doctors and they asked me, are you dark in your thoughts? I said, well, the tunnel's getting narrower. And so I basically started to breathe. And that's the best I had. I had breathe on the wall. And some of the things that were contributing factors to that business was bad. That's always a nice pressure. The house needed to be refinanced. That seems very silly. Female problems, personal problems. I also taken an oath, not an oath to myself, that's too strong of a word, but I've not drank or done drugs in over 10.5 years. So I didn't even have that as a release. So where do I go? Where do I go? What do I do? And, you can only let go and let God so much before you have to look inside the mirror and go, what am I going to do with this? And so in my journey, I started thinking about all the influences that were coming into my life. I came across Descartes, I think, therefore I am, which is that basically I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am. And I'm not saying it to be pedantic or sound cool, but this is just for me, it was a crux of like, what is going into my body? So when I drank and I did drugs and I ate like a cow, I was 300 pounds. I should be, because that's what I ate. And so when I was sad, what were the things that I was digesting into my body? What lies or what things were I trying to adapt into my own soul to make work for me? And that may be too long for a podcast, but let's talk about the things that I've done since. I think that would be more beneficial, at least for the time that we have today. So I'm at the therapy.
Hey, Walter, let me jump in real quick. I didn't get to tell you also that I'm going to do this every once in a while. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to be reading some of these questions. So I'm going to jump off right now while you're going into the next session. Somebody's giving you a thumbs up there. Do you see that?
No, but I believe you.
They pop up every now and then. So I'm going to read some of these questions. I'm going to pop back on after you continue a little bit.
Sure.
And as you wrap up, believe me, I'll be back by then. Promise you. All right.
So the wrap up on that one was a buddy of mine who we used to do films with. His dad is 90 and he's a great guy. He's a therapist. He talks like this and basically said, well, if you're looking to have a destructive life, you're on the right path. Maybe you should digest better things. And once he told me that, I started to read more. And as I read more, I realized the history of my thoughts. And with that, we can go to our first question, and we'll continue from there. It looks like great show, Walter. Perspective pressure is a PowerPoint.
Sorry. My timing was horrible at that.
Okay.
I did not catch the rhythm.
The whole day
I did not catch that rhythm.
Just a bit. It's okay. Someone says because Mercury's in retrograde. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, let's see how we can run the rest of the way through this. You might have to take over to make it a little more professional. But let's start off with Todd here. Great show, he says. Walter's perspective on pressure is powerful. I don't get any kudos there for the way I handled that opening.
I think for myself,
all over the place.
I think you were magical.
All right, it worked.
The show must go on. With or without Walter. The show goes with.
It goes on. It goes on. As long as we have an audience here, it goes on.
I had a show that I was doing real quick just to interact. I had a show once.
Oh yeah, go.
We were doing a show. It's a Wonderful Life, and Ma Bailey came in completely drunk, so the show had to go on. So we made those scenes work with drunk Ma Bailey. So that's just knowing what's going on. Anyway, your questions from whomever. I'm ready.
Yeah, so Todd here, he wants to know your perspective on pressure. He's just saying, can you read that out loud for me?
Great show, Walter. Perspective on pressure is powerful. So the question is, what is my perspective on pressure?
No, that's not a question. He's
Oh.
just saying he likes so far how the show opened up.
Okay.
All right. So it looks like no, here. That's right. There were a bunch of people jumping all over the place here. I lost my spot here. He is on StreamYard. This is the one I wanted to bring on. Danny, what's the best way to stay calm when the pressure suddenly spikes?
Break everything in your office.
Just
Just
destroy it.
No, just
Little
kidding.
pieces.
No, actually, I think the best way to release pressure is to know who you are. And for those people that are around you, depending on what the pressure point is, at least have the grace to know that the things that might be coming out of my mouth next may not be correct. And if you have a good team that you work with, they can help with that. It's not to lose your temper. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about losing your cool. I'm talking about actually just being honest with what is the problem here. Sometimes it's as simple as breathing, and I know that sounds cliche, or getting a piece of paper and writing down what is the first thing that needs to be done. And sometimes when people are trying to help, you have to say, please be quiet. And I say it, and it sounds very like quiet,
Okay.
because I'm trying to process what it is that's happening. And if you give me just enough space, and that's really what it's talking about, is that space. A buddy of mine taught me once, he goes, pressure is the perception of something needs to get done in a time that you don't have enough time for. Without time as a measurement, there is no pressure. You can take forever. Like, my bills are due. When? I don't know, sometime. It's cool. Have a good time on the beach. The flooring check was this morning. Oh, where are the cars? And we have to figure that out now. And that would be an example. And that's when you're pressing against time and an expectation. And that's where sometimes lies come in. Lies to yourself that, oh, well, I would have done it, but I had a cold. Or I would have done it, but my mom was in town. Or those things that we tell ourselves, which basically isn't the, I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. Why? I just didn't want to do it. And I really didn't think it was that important, but I knew it was important, so I procrastinated. Can you give me about an hour and a half to at least give you the answer that you need? And I think that's what a lot of times what my customers actually enjoy about me, because I sell cars as well as all this other stuff that I do. That's my main form of making a living, and I do it by myself. And so there is grace of like, I understand. And then sometimes I have to tell them, you have to text me in the morning, otherwise I might forget. Not that I won't write it down, but the next most important thing sometimes comes across your desk. And planning is important, obviously, to keep pressure away. But the actual question is, what do you do when pressure strikes? Is know who you are. And I think the best way to know who you are is by breathing and doing the best, worst mistake you can possibly do. And just telling someone honestly what's going on. And if you can do that, you get a lot less stress, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Or not less stress, maybe that's the wrong way of saying it. You get a working way out of it. And we all have our ways. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I'm one human being. This is my way of doing it, right? And so the way that you're doing it may be perfect. Maybe just make sure that you have a perfect plan. Maybe your life doesn't have the dynamics of cars blowing up in the morning or the DMV asking you a question or something that might be just diverse. Or maybe it's even more explosive. Maybe you're in research and all of a sudden the rats get away. And like, oh my God, the rats are out. What are we going to do? Get the snakes. I don't know. But we all have I hate saying the cross to bear, but we all have something that's specific with us. And if I know where I fit in my life, then I know what I need to do and why that pressure can be reduced.
Yeah. I like the way this was laid out here too, and it reminds me of something. Like you were saying, there's different tacks, different ways to look at different things, and I heard something the other day which really kind of hit, landed, and it landed because it made me think about this kind of question, because it's not always necessarily a bad thing when the pressure is building up and the answer isn't yet, because what they say is a lot of people say is that high achievers a lot of time will procrastinate on something that they don't have the idea on, but that actually works out to be an advantage because they know how much time needs to be, they know when that moment, that thing needs to be done. So if they're putting that aside, that's building the pressure. But what's happening in the background, in the subconscious, is it's going over that issue, and it's going over that issue to the point where that deadline comes up, and it starts to now say, okay, I need the answer now, and then it rolls out. And I've noticed that happens quite a bit, and it's an interesting, different tact. All that aside, that's just something that brought up that question brought up that thought of mine. I thought that was an interesting thing. But what I wanted to ask is, so as you were going through there, you were talking about some of your clients, and I know some of the information we've looked up, you've coached thousands of people. I want you, before the show's over, do you have a hard stop by any chance?
No, we go on for days if you like. I mean, we can make
All
it
right,
into
we've never gone days.
Jerry Lewis, and we can start having you send us money for the stress person in your life.
Hey, there we go. We could have a little telethon there.
Yeah, there you go.
We've gone as long as 3 hours, but we usually go about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour.
Hour 15. I think 3 hours. I would have to have a potty break.
That would be a little tough.
I didn't know we were Depends driven in this show, but I guess one of our sponsors is Depends. So if you need to have a 3 hour interview, come on down and hang out with.
Now you're talking. Let's get some big dollar people in here. But so I'm glad you don't have that, because we've got a number of questions. But before the show ends, you see that private chat, I think it's called, there on your right side, maybe?
Yes, I think so. Hold on, let me put.
All right, make sure and put before now and whenever we end, and it's not now. That's for sure.
Not now. No.
We've already been going. Well, it was a weird start, so a half an hour maybe isn't real that quick. But put your contact information in there, so some people may come a minute after the show, a month after, a year after. That way they can get directly to you instead of me trying to play games with them. Okay. So what that made me think of was, I wanted to get from you, what does it look like? So I'm coming to you, and you're helping me work through some of these different issues. I come from a long sales background, so I love this subject. I've been very much looking forward to it. Let's talk about what your system, what you do looks like. What does that look like to me? Let's tell everybody. You got 500 people here.
Well, the first thing I like to say is, why is that important? Why is that important? Why is it important for me to do it this way? Why is that important for you to have this? Why is that important for you to need my services? Why is this important to you? And once we can establish what's important, then we can figure out what to do.
Well,
I had a coach in college.
I love that.
He said, some years we're running teams, some years we're passing teams, some years we're defensive teams. And I go, how do you know when? He goes, depends who's in front of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what good managers do. I think there's a part, literature, Tolstoy, right? I'm reading War and Peace, I'm all fucking deep this week. And he talks about it's not just Napoleon, it's the millions of people that make the difference in the world. So yeah, I can have a great idea. It means nothing unless it has some resonance with the person I'm speaking with. Or they could have a great idea. If it has no resonance even with themselves, I can't even get it out of them. And examples are always best versus just a crazy person talking. So let's talk about something basic like wanting to lose weight. That's simple, right? People ask me all the time, how'd you lose weight? How'd you do this? Well, I have all this 18 different ways programs, and I do this, and I do that, and I integrate my diet. I only eat once a day, and I shave my head, and and I have amputation, so I lost 20 pounds in the first week because I took my leg off.
Damn.
But the question is, why is it important to me? What is it, the thing that woke up with you that said that's important? And then why isn't it important today? Because a lot of times we're going to do things tomorrow. Why isn't it important today to you? Well, because my mom's coming into town, and that's important to me. Okay, fine. So at some point, you got to stop beating yourself up, and at some point, you got to start doing things. And I think most of the people who listen to these types of shows are already doing things. They want to do it better. And another guy told me once, the enemy of good is better. So I'm going to explain that to you. So I talked about not drinking, and I'm not here to advocate not drinking. You can do whatever you want. But for myself, one of the things that was important is I work with people in recovery sometimes, and they often say, well, why did you go back out? And they say, well, I didn't do a fourth step, or I didn't do the steps properly, or I stopped going to meetings. And I say, that's a fucking lie. You did it because that's what you wanted to do, because it wasn't valuable to you today. Now, the reason you're upset is because you're a good person and it was valuable to you, but something happened. Something in your psyche, something in your structure stopped. So you want to keep building that. You want it to be bulletproof. And unfortunately, life isn't bulletproof. You know, Will Rogers said you can be on the right track, but if you're not moving, you're going to get hit by the train. That's what he said. Now, I never met Will. I liked it. It's one of the quotes I like. It's fun. It sounds cool at a dinner party. It sounds cool on a webcast. But what's nice is the fact that these are things that we go, oh yeah, that's why we have these meetings. It's not that what I have to say is perfect. It's what I have to say may resonate with someone with inside themselves, because we're also both people. And if it resonates with you, then you can use that. If it doesn't, then dismiss it and get rid of it as fast as you can, because it's poison to your body. Sometimes, though, if you resist something, you have to say, well, why? Why am I resisting this? Is it the truth? Is it the truth? You talked about that procrastination thing, which I thought was interesting.
Right.
And I thought, to some level, there is a movement in what needs to be done, because if I make the decision now, I'm locked in. And so sometimes it looks like procrastination. Some things are task driven, like laundry is just task driven. I got to do my laundry. Okay, it's like it's going to be clean or it's going to be dirty. I'm going to put it away. I'm going to take my socks out and put deodorant on them. I don't know. But there are certain things that really take motion, and the deadline makes you have to make a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. The question is, how many millions of decisions have you made up until that point? I think that's what the argument was. I think the argument was, it's not that I'm really procrastinating, I just haven't committed to the decision that I want to do something. And I think sometimes we get lost in commitment and processing. And so even losing weight, or stopping drinking, or doing my job, or learning piano, or writing a book, or juggling, or whatever it is that would be fun for you, it's foreign. And so sometimes I have a phrase. I was on a date once, and we showed up to the party an hour and a half early. And I asked her, I said, how uncomfortable are you? She goes, oh, I'm extremely uncomfortable. I said, that's great, because that's what life is. It's a series of uncomfortable moments till we get comfortable again. So maybe one day we'll like each other. That did not work out. That's okay. But the point I'm making is, at least we were able to acknowledge the fun of being uncomfortable. And I think that's where this misnomer, I don't know if that's the correct terminology, misnomer or uneasiness that it has to be perfect. I think every day, and that was the point I was making before, is the perfection. You do everything perfect every day. Okay, I believe that. So if your job is not to get drunk today and you didn't drink, you did it perfect, regardless if you did a step or not. If you want to lose weight today and you decided not to eat that fifth cookie, but you had the fourth one, who gives a shit? You did it right. You did it perfect, because you still didn't eat that fifth cookie. Now, I'm not trying to say everyone gets a trophy. And there's times that we have to push harder than other times. But you can't stop beating the shit out of yourself every time you don't do it the way you think you should. And I think that's where the pressure comes in. And that's why you're laying on the floor one day going, what happened to my life? Why are those million decisions that I made that got me on this floor? Some of it's the things I ate. I use the term ate as what I ingested of truth to myself. The lies, and I use the word lies, that I couldn't even sustain. I couldn't even keep those things going. The fantasy of the world that I wanted to live in just wasn't there. And was it that outrageous? Was my fantasy that crazy? No. No, I wanted to drink on my own time and be left alone. I wanted to do this and be like that. I wanted to live life without consequences. Does that make me a bad person? Hell no, it makes me a person. But the fact that I know that, and even when I know that when it's happening, that's the difference. I think that's what I'm trying to get at of this. And that's why my friend was like, you need to start talking to people. You need to start talking, because what happens is, you have things to say that are traditional, but at the same time, it's a little off. And I'm really doing well today. I'm not cursing like a sailor today. Sometimes it's like you think you're interviewing Yosemite Sam. But what I find passionate and what I find important for me today is, as I speak, it solidifies my ideas. It solidifies that what I'm saying is not just some fantasy. It's not just me going under pressure and talking about business and business and business and business, because all that stuff is real. It means nothing unless it's tangible. So if you can take away, why is this important to me? And even better, why is this important to my boss? A friend of mine has a boss. I always say supervisor because it's a boss. They have to report to this person. And they were not happy about it because a lot of times I'm coaching up that person. I said, okay, that's great. But why do they have that position? Do you want that position? Oh, I would never want that position because they have to handle X, Y, and Z. I said, well, what is your part in X, Y, or Z? She goes, oh, I'm the X ingredient. And that's why you have to report to that person. You have to report to that person, not because you're morally obligated to, it's because they can't do their job without it. So if you're so excited about making buildings, go make buildings because that's their architects. But you can't do this because you don't want to do this. So give them the tools they need. The person helping me on these podcasts. Hey, Walter, there's questions you need to answer. I'm busy doing nothing. Now, granted, this week was much more dynamic and nothing business than I normally do. But there's a truth. I can't go forward unless you give me the tools. I know you don't want to be on the internet. I know you don't want to be on LinkedIn. I know you don't want to do this, but you want to talk in front of people. That's the stuff that you need to have, because without it, you're just a nitwit screaming in your closet going, where's the light? So, is that fun? That seemed fun.
That was a good fun one right there. No, I think it's and that's in essence what you just said there is the same thing as why we are here as well, and for a lot of the same reasons. I would imagine if you go back through the history of the show and so forth and so on. I won't get into all that, but it's interesting how you brought that out. And something you said there specifically in the arena of why am I doing these things? Why, it depends on what's important to me. Well, in this case, I'm having I'm facilitating these moments so that I can have these conversations to also facilitate and basically, in essence, bounce back and forth my interpretation of how I see life through my goggles and making adjustments along the way, as we all do, as we all should do, because let's face it, life isn't, or nor should it be, a straight line. It's a series of adjustments. It's a path. And the beauty is when you find somebody where you can have that light placed along that path so you don't fall off of your path, or if you do, you can climb back on. That's the beauty of life and where you're sitting and being able to have that knowledge about yourself and that knowledge about what your path in life is. What you're talking about now, we talked about that inflection point, having that journey is a beautiful place to be in life when you recognize that, and then that becomes part of your own healing. We talk about on the show, building from the inside out. That's what you're talking about there, and being able to recognize that is hugely powerful and important for all the healing and things that we know. You talked about the steps. I know them very well. And there's reasons that we all go through those periods in life, and having these platforms for us to bounce that off of each other is awesome. Guys like Matthew here, how can someone avoid burnout? You talked about that earlier, burnout and the high pressure jobs. And I'll take it another step forward. It doesn't have to even be high pressure. I mean, day in and day out, I love doing this show. I have been doing it for now a year and a half. We've done like 520 shows. I do them 6 days a week. And I'm fueled and addicted to this show because of what we do here. But even then, sometimes you just go, oh man, I'm glad there's nothing happening on Sunday. I'm going to lay in bed all day long. I'm kind of burned out. So even without high pressure shows, how can somebody avoid that burnout?
I wrote this down as you said it. It's ideas. And I'm going to say flogging a dead horse.
Oh, okay.
I have an idea. I want it to work. I have an idea. I want it to work. I have an idea. I want it to work. My idea is perfect. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. And it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. and we start getting burnt out on that idea.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different ways. Maybe the idea is perfect. Maybe the timing of your idea is not right. Maybe it's the way you're presenting that idea. Let's just use the positive. Everything about your idea is exactly what will make the world a better place. Let's just assume that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not ready to hear it. So you have to understand that your idea is perfect. It's a very Emersonian argument, that self-reliance, believe in what you have to say and stand on the mountaintop and scream it as loud as you can. And also be willing to listen to something. Also be able to listen to say, maybe your idea needs a tweak. But that burnout happens a lot of times, I believe, externally. It's not an internal issue. It's an external issue of dealing with, I'll call them drainers. That's right? People who are vortex humans, the people that the naysayers, or even the over positive for no apparent reason person. There's just something about, we'll use the word energy with our new mystic style of speak for this part of the show. But the reality is that sometimes they're just not at the same level, and you're tired of having to match their level without a willingness for them.
Oh, I know what you're saying there.
And it's not that they're wrong. It's not that you're right, but there's no mutual benefit. It feels like only you're giving, only you're giving, only you're giving. So if that's the case of burnout, then the question is, how do I change that? I don't have a one answer word for that. I don't have a sentence word for that. But I think that you can write it down, like, why do I really hate this? Once again, why is it important to me? So do you flip the script? I flipped the script. I can't believe I'm talking internet talk. Jesus Christ. Anyway, flip it and say, why do I hate this? Why do I freaking hate these people? Do I hate their cologne? Do I hate their shirt? I don't care how petty it is. Write it down. And then make jokes about it to yourself. And then as you keep doing that, you realize that most of the things that you're arguing about are things that within yourself that really mean nothing. And you're getting in your own way. And you're not liking the no that you're getting. You're not liking the resistance of the plan that you have. So and I think that falls into this next question. It says, how do you keep integrity while chasing big sales targets?
Exactly. Perfect timing for that question.
I think it's the same idea. You don't have to lie, cheat, and steal to make your targets, but you have to be creative. Because I says, as we open this thing, figures don't lie, but liars can figure, so you better understand the math. Doesn't mean you have to manipulate everything out of your life, but you can also make the argument that all communication is manipulation, but that's a whole nother story for an argument on your way to Las Vegas with a sociologist who wants to believe that that's not true. But that's my life. My point I'm making is that that's kind of where that procrastination comes in, and that flexibility of commitment. So integrity is, I'm going to get this job. Here's a perfect example. I'll have your plates done by Tuesday, and so it costs X amount of dollars. Another car comes in. I need to sell this car, so I need to put some money in this car. So I'm supposed to put these people's plates, and yet I only have so much money to get this other car fixed. Why not? I'm going to get this car fixed because maybe I can make more money and I'll get everyone's plates done, as an example. The integrity is not that I don't want to get these people's plates done. I haven't disregarded that object of what needs to be accomplished. But because of timing and things that happen, sometimes things have to get moved up and down that critical path. Ooh, critical path. Look at that. I even know things. But that's the flexibility, and that's where integrity sometimes gets squashed. So how do you keep the integrity? Mrs. Johnson, I know I said I was going to have it done on Tuesday. I can't get it done on Tuesday. I promise by next week, or at least I really hope to get it. And I think getting the words promise are good because people do buy from you. They trust you. They trust what you're going to say. But you have to ask them, what is it about? Is Tuesday the most important day of your life? Well, I'm going across the border and I have to have valid plates. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get back. That's a critical path. There's no substitute. No car can oversee because that's the commitment that I made. Do you really need to do it? Well, I still have my 90-day registration. No, I'm just going to my mom's house. I'm going to be gone for about a week. And I just didn't want to worry about it. Don't worry about it. Call me when you get back and everything should be fine by then. So that's where integrity comes in, I think, of knowing what you've promised. And I promise you this is the best part about being a human. When you say, I promise, you wholeheartedly, I believed you were going to follow through. You believed you were going to do that. Absolutely. Something happened. Life happened. And sometimes either we drop the ball because we forgot. Is that a lack of integrity? You could argue to the person that you didn't fulfill your obligation to, yes. But if you pick up the phone and go, yes, I made a mistake, I did this happened, most of the time they are receptive. It's not to use an excuse to not do your job. That's not what I'm advocating. We're talking about integrity of high pressure in getting things accomplished. So I'm assuming lots of things are happening. Lots of things have to happen. Lots of people want things done all at the same time. What's important? What's important? What's important to hit these goals? Okay, that's great. So if that's my number one goal, then I understand that the people that I'm working with, they need to understand what I'm doing. I was 20 years old. I was given a ridiculous bet that I could sell 12 cars in 4 days from fresh customers and X amount of gross and all this other crazy stuff. And I did 11. And as a matter of fact, in one of the deals, I actually let the guy get out of the deal because he wasn't happy with the car. I'm like, you know what? Just let him go. So it was the last part of the night, and the manager wanted to go home. I found a couple that had a mother and a daughter who came in. I'm making this story quicker because it could be like a 3-hour story. But the gist of the story was, I said, write me the voucher of my bonus, because I can't do that, because if you don't get it, then you actually have my. I said, just write the voucher. I'm not going to cash it. Just write me the voucher. And I went into the customer. I said, this is the truth. You buy this car, I make this. I don't care if I sell you a car and make money. I want the opportunity to make this because of my ego and because of all the little things in my life. I have a goal that was unrealistic, and I was able to achieve it with your help. Now, if you need a car, this is it. If not, you can come back tomorrow. You're more than welcome to. I won't be like not happy to see you, but I'm not going to be able to do some of the things that they're willing to do tonight. Or you go somewhere else and you buy a car from somebody else. But this is the truth. This is where I'm at. And so that's where I think where integrity comes in. I had one last sales story. I'll make it real brief. There was a husband and a wife looking at Acuras. I was a young kid. And the gist of the story was the wife wanted a Jaguar. And after 3 hours with these people, they said yes to the Acura. And then she finally said, I don't want the car. And so I asked the lady, oh, by the way, I was scared to death because I was a kid and I was keeping the managers 2.5 hours after their schedule. They wanted to go home and see their families. So if you're selling a car, it's okay. And if you're not, they get mad. So I said, ma'am, can I have just 2 more minutes of your life? She said, sure. No, she said, no, actually, no, I've given you enough, 2 minutes, blah, 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 blah. I said, just need 2 more minutes and I'll leave you alone. I'll never talk to you again. So she went back to the office and I said, let me ask you a question. Do you love your husband? She goes, excuse me? Do you love your husband? She goes, yes, I love my husband. I said, that's good. I believe you. I've been watching you two interact for the last 2.5 hours. I believe you love your husband. This is a more important question, though. Do you think your husband loves you? And she looked at me. She said, excuse me, young man? I said, you heard me clearly. Do you think your husband loves you? She said, yes, of course he does. And this is the best that he can do right now. Many people would die to have what you're having an opportunity to have right now. And I know you want a Jaguar, and I know business isn't bad, but this is the best that he has right now. So you do whatever you want to do. It's not my business. It's not my marriage. It's not my life. But if you think that this man has been here for 2.5 hours because he wants to put you in a piece of garbage, then we're both totally correct. She says, I'm sorry, you're correct. And she bought the car. That's what integrity is. Knowing what you're listening to and being able to help people get through their own emotional nonsense to realize that this is where we're at today. This is where we're at today. That made me a great person, a great salesman, a great con man, a great fucking jack off. No, it makes me a human being who's trying to help people get what they need. I'm also going to get what I need. I'm also going to get what I need because that's how I position myself. That's what I do. So that's what integrity. Go ahead. So when you do sales go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll stop. Go ahead.
I was just going to say what you bring up is an excellent point because integrity, we call it authenticity, same thing. But when you're working from that point, from that point of position, it's amazing how many things don't negatively into your life. In other words, pressure becomes a different thing because now you're reframing it because you're honest within yourself. What's the saying is, if it's harder to remember lie after lie after lie than it is to tell the truth or to be authentic or to have that different thing than what sometimes people use. It's frustrating to me in the world of our profession, sales, people that don't sit there and ask more questions than they try and make things up for in order to get that sale. And when you have that, you see people paint themselves into boxes and very, very quickly lose any of that trust you talked about earlier from a potential client. So I love the story you were just talking about, because it's so absolutely critical as the truth, as a foundational moment, is exactly what you were talking about.
I also want to go back to pressure for a second. I had another thought as you were speaking. How do I fix burnout? To live in that intensity of authenticity, understanding what you're doing, takes a lot of energy. And quiet is one of the hardest things to find on this planet. You know, sometimes we'll just put on the television and get upset about that.
Stop right there. Hold on, stop. I just want to ponder on that, because that is the best thing that I've heard said in a decade, a month, a year, a day. Quiet is definitely the hardest thing to find. Thank you for saying that. Go on.
And so for me, I find quiet sometimes with just a book. And even if I don't even understand what I'm reading, it's just that quiet. Is it scheduled quiet? It could be anywhere. You know, I almost sometimes make a joke that I'm narcoleptic. Like, I'll go to a car or something and just take a 10-minute nap. Some people are, how do you do that? Well, because I have to, because I'm working so much in my head. And I think it's the most, you know, I made an observation the other day. This is Walterness. This is Walter bullshit. This is Walter, you're out of your fucking mind, whatever you want to say. I'm reading this Tao, the art of Tao, and it's about letting go and releasing and being one, and you know, if I just let go of reality, everything will be great. And I was like, oh, that's spiritual alcoholism. See, there's this goal to erase what's happening. I'm not asking you to erase what's happening. I'm asking you to acknowledge what's happening, be in reality, and just be quiet. Don't even have to solve it. Don't even have to move. You don't have to go, I need the right pillow to get to the right time, to do the right chant, to do the right mood. You can't meditate wrong, just be quiet. You know, I know we want to hear a podcast like us, like someone whose just brain is spinning, turn us off. Take a nap, come back. Please come back. But right now, just do what you got to do. And I think that's the hardest thing, because we here, I get to use a quote, and that's Admiral Rickover. The only people who get to say we is heads of state, pregnant women, and schizophrenics. But I digress. As a person, I don't want to miss a fucking thing. I want Roadhouse. When I'm dead, I'll sleep. I get it. I don't want to miss a thing. I want to go to every party. I want to go to every event. I want to be active in my life. I don't want to sleep it away. But in the same venue, by just resting and enjoying what I'm doing, you're not even there. You feel it, but it's not there. It's very Bruce Lee, be like water. You are the pressure. You are the things that are moving around in your life. You are those things. And if you are real within what you are, and I am a Western man, an American, been told a lot of cool shit, but I'm told a lot of crazy shit. But that's who I am. And that's my reference point of, at least when I'm all dead, I go, I'm not dead, whatever it is. What's my cornerstone? Who am I? What's my social contract to thought, to myself, and my social contract agreement to my fellow man? So I look at Rousseau, I look at Hume, I look at Locke, and I go, those are the men who have different ideas about it, but in myself, when I integrate that, when I integrate those writings and those readings, how do I integrate them into my life? It's because that's how I have to see it. Even if I'm skewed out of my mind, even if I'm completely wrong, It's not perspective gets me a free pass, but at least it gives me a chance for someone to say, "You're out of your fucking mind, man."
So let me ask you this. I'm curious because I think one of a lot of what this goes throughout life, whatever industry we're in, however we create the things for our families and so forth. But sales, that industry, as I think we both would know, is there's a lot of insecurity in sales. Maybe that's why people go into there's a larger number going in that are insecure because it attracts that, just like certain people are attracted to the police department.
Well,
This and
as
that,
I would
this and
say,
that.
big
Well, let me
egos.
just
Hold
let
on.
me just
Okay,
finish.
go ahead.
Let me just finish.
I apologize.
So
I'm excited. I got excited.
so just as there's insecurity there, and I've noticed this, especially earlier on in my career, if the insecurity should be erased by successes. Why is that not always the case? And do you agree with that? And then go on with what you were saying. Big egos.
Well, big egos, big money creates big problems. So
Yeah.
they're there. You know, you're gonna fight it. Back to why doesn't the sale solidify? Well, it has to go with the phrase "You're only as good as your last sale." And
That's what drives us, huh?
well, it's not just that drives us; it's just because all the money that we borrowed to get to that next sale, we had to pay back. Now we have no money again.
Well,
So-
I used to.
we had to
used
borrow.
to
We
hear
had to
that-
borrow so much to get to zero. Because I'm telling you, this one's gonna be best. I mean, you know, I don't, you know, I think the reason it exacerbates bad self-esteem is that everything is externally driven.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find self when everything that you do is based on external. I'm using the word gratification, validation.
Or elements. Yeah, absolutely.
It's all the things that are outside that prove that you're doing a good job. I mean, you can tell yourself you're the greatest salesman in the world and not sell anything because I read The Greatest Salesman Alive by Mandango and I did the things and I read the thing and I read it every day and I went 30 days here.
So I got to be it.
I got to be it because I mean those are the rules, right?
Yeah.
Now, where's my donkey and where's my cool thing? When I get to write the second book, you know, where's my wife? Where's my trophy? And it's not that these things aren't true, right? But they're hard. They're hard because we're involved. And so I guess you said something very profound. Where's our self-esteem? I can only speak for myself. My self-esteem is improving. It wanes like any other
Absolutely.
weather system. When it's bumpy, I think it's time to put on a coat and take a nap, not necessarily suck my thumb. And sometimes it's just to go for a run. You know, there are cliche things. We do things. You know, do I watch Rocky 19 times? Maybe I don't know. Maybe that'll make everything better. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch, you know, I don't know. That's the individual excitement of the whole program. But if you feel that I'm a piece of garbage feeling, and I think it normally goes, I'm a piece of shit, is normally how it starts. And even if you say, I never say that, you're like, maybe you did. The question is, do you think pressure makes people better performers or worse?
Yeah. So this is the next one. I'm curious about this because you've heard it both ways. Now, old school, they would say, I think pressure makes you do better. I don't know if that's still the case. What do you think about what Clive's asking here?
Yes. More than not. More than not. I think too much can, and anything can make it detrimental, obviously.
Sure.
But I think I'm going to go back to mystic talk for a second. You know, when I used to go to these recovery things, they would talk about this hole in you that's never filled. That's part of that self-esteem we talked, and this gets back to pressure. And in my readings recently of Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged and some of her other objectivism philosophies.
Oh, Atlas Shrugged. I like that.
It has to do with, it's not I think the word pressure is misused by those that aren't drivers. So if you see someone, oh, you're under so much pressure, you're like, well, yes, but I asked for this. I need your help to manage this. That's when pressure becomes, once again, stop telling me I'm drowning. I see that I'm drowning. Either move or come up with, or pick something up, do something. So back to the pressure, does it help you? I think fundamentally it's base core. Yes, I do. I think that's part of that Western Calvinistic ideology of doing things like that. Does that make me more blessed than my fellow man? It's just how I'm wired. So if I don't feel as if, like even today, there's pressure to come on today to put a good show on within reason, right? I mean, not like to the point like, oh my God, well, we couldn't get on the thing. What are we going to do? I could have thrown the computer, screamed and yelled. Like, that guy, Rodd, doesn't know nothing. Ah! It's like, just let's get the link. We weren't the most happy over here, but it wasn't, I promise, I've had bigger meltdowns in my life. Like, it's just a show. We'll figure it out. And we figured it out.
Barbie has a Barbieism that's kind of famous. You know, we have an ecosystem. So we have this show, and then I do a commentary, a column in the Mega Star newspaper, and then we have a Substack. We do 3 days a week, and she does on Mondays. It's called Barbieisms. It's just a way of approaching a point from a different angle, and in those Barbieisms, if you ever look at them, she's making a point, and in one of the very first ones, I remember it because she just brought it up to me today in an email. She responded to something I sent her, and it was about having your cup refill your cup. And we were talking about our very first show that was very stressful because the sound wasn't coming up. We didn't have this, we didn't have that. It was 530 shows ago now, so things are a little bit easier. We've seen just about everything, as you described earlier a minute ago. But with that, at one point we just looked at each other and started laughing, and that's what filled the cup back up. And those are points in time where sometimes you got to have that pressure to build yourself. I like that example that I gave earlier, where your mind can still be working on it in the background. As long as you're making that deadline, you can work in that procrastination kind of environment. But if you then have nothing but doubt and self-doubt, and that's where that working from the inside out, that's where it really gets to be a challenge to continue to work upon yourself. That's why people like yourself and experts coming in and oh, by the way, don't forget, put in that contact information in the private chat. But I want to hit Clive here. And what advice would you give young sales professionals starting out? Because that's the whole thing. You know, it's an awesome profession. It's probably one of the most fun and most rewarding professions. And honestly, as a profession, it's one of the highest paid. So it's got all the benefits going to it, but you got to have a little bit of chutzpah. You got to have a little bit of callous. You've got to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And most importantly, you got to go by the rules. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You got to listen twice as much as you do talk. You know, you got to start out with questions. So what's some advice you would give young salespeople? Because let's face it, our economy,
young salespeople, is that correct?
Yeah, young sales professionals starting out.
Become a doctor.
Oh, come on. No. Hey, you know what? I was pretty
Actually,
mad
the first thing
I switched.
I would tell them if I could, not if I could, I can't. I'm doing it right now. I would find a hobby like history or philosophy. And I would immerse myself in ideas, especially as a young person, because I don't only know so much. And I wouldn't try to integrate everything I read into the world I saw, but I would be able to see things in the world that I see. And I would write down everything that I see. And I really said everything that I see, but like a reasonable journal. You know, that quiet time that we talk about of just writing it down. Even if it's a line like rad. I was rad that day. Sucks. And what it does is it anchors yourself. So I came from a background of my father sold cars, we had our own lots, blah, blah, blah. When I had to do it by myself, I was going to do it different. I saw all the things that he did wrong, so to speak. I later found out all the things he did was just the same thing everyone else does, just trying to survive.
True.
But I'm going to get back to that in a second. But one of the things I really disciplined myself in was it being product knowledge, especially when you're young, and understand what the idea of that product is. The idea of why it's beneficial to you, and not slamming it down someone's throat like, "Hey, did you like your cell phone?" Like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess my cell phone's fine. I mean, that's a tough gig. Or do you like Windows when you go to Costco? Or, how's your heating in your house? Like, I guess it's fine. I got Windows now. I mean, I don't know. Those are hard things to do. That door-to-door stuff, especially like just screaming at people. You got a better chance of becoming a construction worker, getting laid, screaming at women, going, "Nice ass." I mean, you got a better chance.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
But let's just pretend you're a young salesperson and you're in a, let's say, just whatever the widget is, that there's a company and you have ties and you walk around and you knock on doors and you do things. Dance. Dance in your youth. Don't try to be 50. Just be dumb and fun and read. And get smarter and learn those mistakes. Your enthusiasm of being young will take you so much farther than what you think you need to know. I'm not saying that you have to turn off your brain, but turn off your brain. And when you go home, turn it back on and fill it with something that's important. Because it's fools and babies is who God takes care of. And there's something about a young salesman, like even when he's saying the most ridiculous things and you're looking at him and like, I know you don't believe that, or you might believe that, which is kind of cute. I think that's cute. Okay, I'll buy your little cell phone. So just embrace where you are in life to the best of your ability and strive, because that's what you want to do. But a lot of times young salespeople, they're here and they want to get here, right? They want to be whatever. I'm saying Tommy Curran, he's a surfer. That's how old I am. But whatever that is in your life, you don't have to. You can walk around with a pair of brass balls and pretend you're, Alec Baldwin and say, brass balls, and fucking be psychotic and watch Boiler Room 1,000 times and watch Wolf of Wall Street and buy bags and bags of cocaine. If that's what you want to do, knock yourself out.
10 steps to domination. That's the new.
You can watch.
Attitude.
You can read 48 Powers of Manipulation. You can read Machiavelli backwards, forwards, and sideways. You can even read the Art of War and tattoo it on your asshole. Who gives a shit? Just be yourself, man. Just relax.
That's it. So one final question, and then why don't you pull out of this question with a final thought you want to leave your 500 fans here? They're sticking right in. So I love it. Do you know we've been going almost? We'll hit an hour and a half before we close today. Great show. Awesome job. Love the input. Love the it. No, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So to answer the James show, it looks like another podcast here. How do you personally handle failure after a big loss? And from that, just kind of roll into what you want to leave everybody with here. And don't forget, put in that contact information in the private chat. But what do you want to leave everybody with? And then give a big wave. I'll throw you in the green room. Hang out there for a minute. I'll close her down and come and see you.
Okay. I would, my first instinct was tears. How do I handle personal failure after a big loss? It's tears. It's blubbering. It's snot coming out of my nose. It's a visceral response. And then it goes to disappointment. And then comes, and I'm using the word big losses, not some car deal, not some like I lost my car or it got towed. This is like human loss.
Big deal. Real stuff.
That's what big losses are. Breakups, hurting people that you care about, breaking trust. Those are big losses. And when somebody was special in your life and they're no longer there in your life anymore, one of the things I do remember is it was a gift, at least that I had it for a moment. And that I get to feel this kind of pain. I get to feel this real pain because it actually meant something to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that meant something to me, that I'm this upset, means I'm going in the right direction. No matter what happened, no matter what it was, no matter what my part was that created this big loss. Some things are not, but I'm using the personal responsibility of the things that I've done. Then why would you do it in the first place? Well, then that's a whole nother story of how do you rebuild your life? What's important now? Those are whole different avenues. But I remember I was surfing, and this guy comes up to me and goes, "It's all right to cry." I'm like, "Yeah, I got that. What's not all right to cry is for the last 6 months every day. I got to stop." Because you will when you will. I said, it has to stop. It has to stop. And it does. And it does. And you can protect yourself with all the psychobabble and all the other nonsense. And I'm not talking about therapy being bad and listening to people and reading. But the one thing that you can do, as I highly recommend not to, is I'm going to say this carefully. Don't rely on hope, but don't be hopeless.
I love that. God, that is so true. And it is a definite mingling. It is a definite counterbalance, a balance between those, right?
Yeah. So that's, we can have big loss next time you want to invite me. Or we can do the whole, let's get Harry Carey and watch Walter, just be sad and light himself on fire like he's a monk protesting the Vietnam War. But generally speaking, life is great. We had a real good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. That was a great show,
I think
man.
I wrote it down. Pressure isn't the enemy. Pressure is a test that reveals that you are actually alive. The real goal is clarity. It is about truth. It is about work. And most importantly, it's about yourself. So that's the takeaway that I have. That's the gift that I was given to share with you today. I hope it resonates with those who liked what I had to say, and those that don't. Write it down, what made you angry and how lies, whatever nonsense I said, and then figure that out. And share it with me, or share it with Rodd, or share it with somebody. Like, this guy was on a podcast, he was a psychopath. Like, all right, well, what did he have to say? But whatever it is, in the words of Edmund Russell, he's just because I have a cool philosophy doesn't mean that you should trust it. Doubt everything, but at the same time, believe something. So I don't know what that means.
Well put, man. Well put. I love it, man. Hey, be sure and give everybody a big wave, and when you're back there, leave that information in, and I'll close everything out.
So I'll put it here while we're saying goodbye. Hey, thank you, humans, and those that ask questions. I've had the opportunity to answer. Rodd, thank you for being enough patience with me today to find me and resending us a link. I swear to God, that if that thing taped, whatever it was, I had like a 15-minute show of absolute nonsense. So that was cool. And
hang out in the green room. We'll keep in contact. Maybe do a follow-up there.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll type my stuff. Thank you very much for everything, and we'll talk soon, sir.
You got it, brother. All right, that was an awesome show, and as always, really love to have the different aspects of things like this, and what's really fun to me. I mean, fun. I guess a couple different things. Fun in one aspect is being able to look at the same ratios, the same things that are, I can see you, by the way, young lady. How are you? I'm going to put you on
I
stage.
didn't realize you could see me.
I got her. I got her. I
Hi.
got her.
Hi.
There it is.
We're going to turn this
Okay.
off. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait for that.
No,
Very good.
Hey, no, don't turn it off. I just brought you on stage
All right,
just to
thank
screw
you.
with you. All right. So, what we talked about today was important and critical, and it's one of those same things that have a slightly different view or ecosystem to it, and what a conversation it was. I mean, just continuing to go on with what we talk about each and every day, and here's what stands out to me about this. Pressure doesn't create character. You know what pressure does? It reveals character. It reveals it. And if you don't like what shows up under pressure, honestly, that's not a crisis. But you know what it is? It's information. Walter said something powerful just a little bit ago today, that success doesn't secure insecurity. Let that sink in. Success doesn't cure insecurity. We think if we win enough, or we earn enough, we sell enough, we finally feel solid, right? But performance without integrity is so very fragile. And integrity without courage never gets tested. So the question isn't, can you win? The question is, can you win and still recognize yourself in the mirror? That's leadership. That's adulthood. That's the work. And if this conversation stirred something inside of you, agreement, resistance, irritation, or inspiration, good. That means it mattered. Now, here's the part. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe at Rodd Duff 1939. Don't just watch one episode. Watch 3 or 4 of them. You know why? Because you got to understand the ecosystem. Share this link with someone who operates under pressure, a sales leader, a business owner, a parent, a coach. If you're on Substack, join us at insightstraighttalk.substack.com. That's where the deeper written conversations live. And if you believe in conversations like this, you believe these matter, don't consume them quietly, please. Share them, because the great middle class doesn't rebuild itself. It rebuilds through conversations like this, where humor meets honesty and performance meets integrity. Walter, thank you for bringing both edge and insight to this table. Producer Barbie, as always, and to all of you watching live or on replay, stay sharp, stay honest, and learn the math. We'll see you next time. Why? Because I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, Producer Barbie and I are out. Learn the math.